The views, language, and candor expressed on this series are designed to provoke thought and conversation amongst adults. Some opinions and perspectives may be unsuitable for those that are emotionally weak. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Coach's Decision with Chris Puree, where we dive into topics each week that could provide some game to assist someone you know or are close to and what they're going through. I've had many clients who have been great players of the game of life, but a coach has to make decisions designed to protect the player from themselves. Sometimes you need a coach's decision. My producer and top client will guide us through some of these moments as we depend on you, the audience, to provide perspective and questions in the chat to shed additional insights on our topic today.
And I'm your friendly neighborhood producer, MOB, and I'll be responding to your chats, reading your chats, asking questions. So feel free to drop them in at any time.
Cool. So what you want to start us off with? What topic did you want to talk about from a life perspective today?
So you sent a thought out, and it said being special versus it's
being alone.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I was wrong in my thoughts.
No, that's cool.
Being special versus being alone.
Yeah.
And it kind of threw me because it started with Adam being lonely.
That's correct.
I'm like, wait, no. Now, I don't know what Adam we talking about, but everybody know the famous Adam in the Bible. I don't think he was lonely, because who would have told you that you lonely?
I think it may be one of them inalienable feelings that you have, that you're born with, those traits, so to speak, that we just can't shake. And for whatever reason, the Bible said that God said that Adam was lonely. He wanted somebody to play with. And so therefore, this is how Eve came about. And the rest, as you know, is history, good, bad, or indifferent.
And we believe it.
Yeah. But here's the situation. When we start talking about far-fetched and the Bible, we're going to lose every argument that's out there. So, Christianity is a religion based off of faith, where Catholicism is faith plus works. All you have to do is profess with the tongue and have faith, and you got your Christianity card. So in the idea of, do we believe these things? It was written. So it was written.
So nobody told Adam he was lonely. He just felt it.
He felt it. It was a tingling. It was a feeling that Adam was lonely. Now, the idea of Adam wasn't alone. And that's the thing that we have to understand. He had dominion over the animals, and I'm assuming they was able to communicate or at least do something together to where he should have been occupied. And I don't even know how long Adam was there before he got lonely. It could have been an early loneliness. It's on 3-4 days, but he tended to get lonely. A rib was extracted and Eve was, produced, and the rest, once again, is history.
Yeah, so snakes could talk.
Exactly.
So is your argument that he was actually special versus alone?
This is the situation. When you have a coalition of individuals or a series of people, when you have family, when you have friends, when you have a community, you're no longer alone. But the more people that you are around, because we're made to be communal creatures at this point. Now we go crazy in solitude, right? So in the idea of us going crazy in solitude, the more you have to fit into a society, the more special individualism you lose as far as yourself, because you're conforming to society. So a lot of these things we see out in the streets now. I went to the mall in Houston 2 days ago and saw some get-ups. I would love to call them outfits, but I won't disrespect outfits like that. I saw some get-ups where I realized these young men, young women, old men are doing everything they can to be special, to stick out from the crowd, and to be abnormal. As much as we're forced into a corral of society, they're doing all in their power to be different and draw attention. And the idea of that duality of trying to be special and unique, to get a degree, to separate yourself from your teammates, your coworkers, or whatever the case may be, while also trying to fit into a society where you need cohesion, you need to be included, you need to be on the same plane to a degree, is why people go crazy.
Okay. So when you get married or you find that person, you find someone special, right?
Exactly. To fit your criteria of what's special or interesting to you. You don't want somebody that's so different from you that you can't understand them, that there is no common language. You don't find any kind of commonality between you and your mate. But at the same point in time, you want somebody that's going to accentuate you or amplify you. Think about a guitar and an amplifier. People can play the guitar and it sounds like you playing a guitar. When you plug it into an amplifier, you're doing the same things, except it sounds that much better and goes that much further. A spouse is an amplifier. I don't believe somebody can complete me. I believe somebody can accentuate me, right? They can make me more of who I need to be and better in that regard. But I don't need you to be my other half, because then if you gone, I'm half of a person.
So did Adam find someone special, or did he find someone to get rid of that feeling that he had that he didn't like?
I think Eve was the stopgap solution. I think that, first of all, he didn't have any frame of reference to compare it to. So I have no idea what Eve looked like, but they saw each other and saw their true forms and felt naked and ashamed. Eve's hair absolutely wasn't washed or done. You know what I'm saying? Eve wasn't shaved at all. I don't know what modern construct of beauty Eve had. None of that. None of that. But the good news is Adam didn't have to pay for none of that either. So chivalry hadn't come into play. But the moral of the story is he just wanted somebody. And I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, in God's, infinite wisdom, he decided to not give Adam a dude to kick it with. He went totally different and gave him a woman. And once again, thanks to that, the human race exists. But I don't know what was in the mind of God as he created and a separate but equal or opposite type of partner for Adam. I also don't know at the time, and it didn't say this in Genesis, was there sexes amongst the animals at this point in time? Because remember, he made the oceans and this and that, and then he just made. So why would he make a male and a female chipmunk, and a male and a female giraffe, and a male and a female deer, and then just make a dude human?
He needed him to be focused on naming stuff. Like, he ain't gonna be focused if you got this woman in front of you. He had to get his life together first.
Don't do that. Don't do that. We have a lot of female listeners that heard you say that women are ultimate distractions ever since the beginning. Because you just said Adam couldn't focus if a woman was there.
Say that. Genesis said that. I didn't come back with the fruit.
Right.
They did.
Man, golly.
Man. So can someone be bored then, or are they allowed to be bored?
Absolutely. I think that
you don't like yourself.
No, I don't think boredom has a personal assignment. I think that when you're bored because whatever you had that was previously entertaining you is no longer doing it for you. It's not releasing those endorphins. You could be bored in things that other people could otherwise say should not be boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am absolutely bored fishing, and some people pay a lot of money and love fishing. And those of you who are on the chat that don't like fishing know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. That is absolutely boring. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on how you're made up and what you consider the line of demarcation as it relates to boredom is. And that's a tough thing because it's different for everyone. And this is where the individuality comes into play. So once again, it's that push and pull of how much am I being authentic to myself? And then how much am I being cool enough to pass in society and to get a job and to get a girl? Because we subdue a lot of our animal instincts and natural tendencies just to fit in. We go along to get along in a lot of situations.
Okay. Can we take a break real quick and go to the chat?
Of course. Absolutely. This is what we're here for. The people.
Can you expound a little bit on outfits versus get-ups? Because Jaden Smith,
okay,
Castle, definitely a get-up. So says Jaden.
Okay, so here's the situation. Once again, in the desire to ornament yourself, in the purpose of attracting your base or the type of people that would be so inclined to be attracted to that, people do different things. They dye their hair, they put on heels, they go to the gym. Everybody's trying to gain the attention of some bait or some interest that they have. And so they ornament themselves in different things. He's done so many far-fetched things and has a comfortable life financially that now he just, and y'all know this from rich folks, they get ignorant real quick because they get bored. That's when you're talking about the boredom. It's the dangerous. This is when they start hunting human beings and stuff like that. Like there's a level of wealth and opulence to where you can get bored with what normal life is considered to be normal and functional in society. So yes, Jaden did have a castle or at least a villa on his head. And it was ridiculous to me. And I'm hoping that he has chiropractic problems because of it, because if not, the kids won't learn.
So you saying that if Adam didn't eventually get Eve, he would have got bored and he would have caused destruction?
I hope not, because I don't understand listen to me. I don't understand the construct of him being introduced to the concept of boredom without that being part of the plan. They say the book was written way before the apple got bitten, right? So the omnipotence of God means that he knew this was going to happen, that was going to happen, every hair on your head, all this kind of stuff that you hear when you're growing up in church. So this is all a master construct that has been alive forever. So everything that happened, you can't give the good stuff to God and the bad stuff to the devil. It's all God's stuff, right? We can't start parsing things in that way. In the idea of the confusion is why they didn't touch down at the same time. Why did the emotion of boredom have to come about? Because it seems like the only reason women exist is because a dude got bored, and I don't want to do women like that. That's a tough thing. Once again, being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Adam was absolutely alone as a human being, but he wasn't alone as a animal, as a mammal or anything. The fact that he felt loneliness is very tough, and the Bible doesn't do a good job of explaining that to me. But I do know when I talk to people, they tend to conflate the two arguments or to conflate the two concepts of being alone and being lonely, because I love being alone a lot. I don't often feel lonely.
Before we move off the outfits, we have to let the people know.
Okay.
And I don't know, so maybe you can help.
The get-ups.
Does Cam Newton have on outfits or get-up?
Get-ups, absolutely. Listen to me. Cam Newton.
Daniel Young agrees.
Yes. This is why. When you have a lot of money and you can afford everything, you don't have to wear it all at once. You don't. You shouldn't have on gym shoes and boots at the same time. Like Cam Newton's layers, for him to be in the South, he layers so inappropriately. You would assume Cam Newton has decided to go opulent homeless in his attire. You know, if you've ever seen a homeless person, if you live in a place where they have homeless, they're wearing everything they own simultaneously. Cam Newton goes extra opulent homeless a lot. He'll have on a tie with a bow tie, a sweater, a vest, and a jacket, and a hat. So Cam Newton has a problem with decision-making, executive decision-making.
I disagree. I think that day he has on his favorite everything.
The fact that there's an inconsistency to where it's daily a situation makes it that much worse. It makes it that much worse. But the fact that he can afford that, like he has like I think a shoe garage or a shoe closet just for shoes, and he has so much stuff. And I understand he doesn't want anything to get dusty or anything to feel unappreciated or unwanted. So he's making sure he cycles through all that stuff. I don't know if he has a calendar on the wall or what, but Cam wears a lot of stuff at the same time. Now, does he have nice things? Absolutely. Do I need to see it all together? And the colors, I'm not a colors guy, but I'm also not Southern. Southern people tend to love aquamarines and pastels, and you know what I'm saying? You have no idea what time of year it is based on the color they have on. That's Cam Newton. So yes, Cam is different in that regard, but Cam does it for attention too. I would have a hard time. I think y'all tell me, chat, do y'all believe that if Cam is in the mountains for a weekend with his kids, he's wearing all of that bullshit? with no cameras, no videos, no Instagram, no nothing. You think normal Cam? You think his pajamas look like that? How many pairs of pajamas Cam's be wearing to bed?
He don't want the other clothes that he have on to be lonely.
They can't be lonely on him. They got to be lonely in the closet.
That's why he wears so many, because it's lonely on his body.
Listen, Cam needs to start doing deodorant commercials. That's where the real money is for him.
Can we address another question?
Yes, of course.
Key Gal, 1996. Ouch. Eve as the stopgap.
Think about this, okay? I am the only human that exists. I say that I am ultimately lonely. If Eve was good enough as a solution, she would have showed up and that would have been it. The idea of reproduction, because remember, they wasn't ashamed. They wasn't doing it. Nothing in the Bible said they was doing it before they realized they was naked. So there was no, I'm assuming there was no arousal. First of all, I don't know how long Eve was there and they was playing around before she drifted off and did her own thing. The fact that Eve got distracted so quickly, Eve got bored. Right? Eve got bored. What is Eve wandering around for when she got this good man that's with her every moment of the waking hour for eternity, right? But
was he special or was he given?
Because you don't know the difference. Yes, both. Yes, and both. He was given and special. She was she was a gift to Adam. God gave Adam that gift. Adam was excited about Eve, but Eve obviously wasn't enough because then he had to give Adam a parenthood and then grandparenthood. And however long they was alive, Adam had more people that entertained his fancy because Adam ultimately started off being bored. I just didn't think that it was a good thing to put in the Holy Bible that Adam was bored. So here, take this lesser being, because he could have made two Adams. He could have gave Adam a twin brother or whatever you wanted to call it at that time. And none of this would have been an issue, but he gave Adam someone that was physically weaker than him. And that was, they say Adam was made in God's image, but they didn't say Eve specifically was made in God's image. Somebody can correct me. Is there a verse that said Eve was also made in God's image or that mankind was made in God's image? Help me out with that.
I'll help you. Absolutely. It was mankind was made in God's image.
Okay, cool.
Adam Eve is a word. In English, they just broke it up into two words, Adam and Eve. That wasn't the real name.
Okay.
So yeah, it was mankind.
Okay. There it is there. This is what we do here. Get a game.
Yeah. You got to go back to the Arabic translation. I don't speak Arabic very fluently. Look up a few words and figure out. And I don't think we're saying that Eve is a stopgap here because Eve had a responsibility and Adam had a responsibility. And they both failed and they both got punished. So she didn't.
What was Adam's responsibility?
His responsibility was to remember God's commandments, his laws.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
And he failed to do that. That's why he was punished with having to work the ground and stuff. Remember?
So is that Eve's fault?
Eve had a responsibility that she didn't keep up with. So I
agree.
Are we blaming Eve or are we not blaming Eve?
Yes, we're blaming Eve. Yes, we're blaming Eve.
Eve for what Adam was supposed to do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. She coerced him. Yes, Eve coerced Adam. That's
Adam's fault, though.
How come he didn't do it before Eve got there?
Remember, we're not supposed to eat from that. Put that down.
How come it never came up before Eve arrived?
Because I think Jasmine put it in here. The man needed to be entertained.
Okay. I'll allow it. Why did he need see, this is the problem with mankind to this day, or men to this day. They feel like they need to be catered to and entertained, and they get bored with things that are usually or had been sufficient for entertainment. If you cook the same thing every day, eventually he's gonna get bored and complain that you're feeding him. Now forget about the fact you're feeding him. He wanted something special and different. This is a problem that obviously has existed since the beginning of time. But the issue is this, and this is why I have a bigger problem in the idea of how people are constructed now, where we get bored and we want to do something different and be an outlier, was the reason why they ate from the tree. They ate from the tree because the serpent told them that God had all this stuff that he didn't want them to have, and that God was doing something that they couldn't do. And so in order to be, instead of just being cool with themselves and living in this paradise and loving on each other and having everything that they had at their disposal, they coveted what God had. I'm sorry, Eve coveted what God had first, because Eve got talked to by the serpent. Eve got, gamed down. And so then Eve was told that you're not going to die. He's lying to you, blah, 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 blah. Eve eats the fruit, realizes she didn't die, realized that there was some things that she hadn't been exposed to emotionally, and all these things awoke. In the Greek mythology, it's Pandora's box, right? All these emotions came flooding out. But in the concept of now she sees all this stuff, she wants Adam to now do exactly what they were told specifically not to do, to try to get where God is. Why do you even want to get, why do you want what God has?
The chat is blowing up right now. So
sorry,
why are you blaming Eve?
Oh, dang.
Why are you blaming Eve?
She did it first and came.
Well, you want to talk about first?
Okay.
The serpent did it first to Eve. Why are we not blaming the serpent?
Because the serpent was the main protagonist in the Genesis story. The serpent is an extra character. It's not there as one of the main progenitors of the human race. There is no descendant of the serpent. We are all descendants of Adam and Eve. The original sin is not assigned with the serpent. It's assigned with Adam and Eve. What say you, chat?
No, man did not need entertainment. He was just given a helper.
To help with what? To help with what? He had dominion over the animals. They were his helpers, like in Snow White. They was cleaning up and making beds. This doesn't make sense. Y'all making excuses.
God built too much stuff. There needs to be a helper unless God was going to be here every day on earth with Adam.
Adam communed with God. God is not the author of confusion. Eve created confusion when she entered and went against the rules.
Who's the author of confusion?
Obviously, Eve and the devil.
Who created them?
God. Don't do an if-there statement with the good Lord and Savior. No, don't do that.
God created everything.
He did. He created everything.
Okay. He has to be the author.
Dang, that's tough. I'm gonna have to go back and get back to the you in the chat on that one. You got me in a check, but it's not checkmate yet. That's good though.
So due to time, I just want to pivot a little bit. And we're talking about Adam, we're talking about Eve, we're talking about outfits, we're talking about all this. The key at the bottom of the thought was you have to find your balance. So how do you find your balance in the alone and special? And okay.
You start with you. You are the nucleus of your own happiness. There are going to be positives and negatives that exist in your life, and they will rotate and orbit around you. There's going to be neutral things. It's just like a atom, right? Pun intended. That you have to understand you're the center of your own happiness, your own serenity, your own well-being. And if you start with you and everything else flows around you accordingly, you'll have an anchor, you'll have a base, you'll have a center of stability, and you won't be lonely. You won't need somebody else to entertain your ideas and things of that nature, because you'll be enough. And ironically, you'll be gravitational to those who actually are equally yoked and can fulfill that in your life. But you got to get your shit together first. You got to do you first and be stable. No excuses, no extracurriculars, just be good. And that is very, very attractive to the right people.
Thanks for that.
Cool.
I'm not sure who Keygal 1996 is, but she said that the dwarves did not marry Snow White. That's because they were side pieces. I'll answer that one. Tell us about the dream, Coach. Tell us about the dream.
Cool. So the dream of the week, and my daughter requested this specifically. So what happened was I come into the dream and it's me and my daughter. She's at this time 9 in my dream. I'm probably in my 30s. And because of some situations and hard times, we ended up having to rent a room from a dude. So as the dream persists, I'm just trying to do what I can to have shelter for my child. I got to go to work. I ain't even thought about daycare and that kind of stuff, but we got to settle in and have a place to stay. So I rent this room from this guy, $450 cash. Now, when I get there, things start getting different because the room is actually the living room. So it's me and my daughter on a couch in the living room, or on a pallet on the floor in the living room. Then we start having issues. She want to watch Netflix, and he not giving me the password. All of a sudden, I'm trying to make the best out of a bad situation with me and my daughter. Don't know where my wife is. She's not in this episode, in this dream. But the moral of the story,
Netflix in the lease. Oh, y'all wrong.
So yeah, it's a cash situation. Like it's dire straits, bro. So anyway, me and my daughter sitting there. We finally got this Netflix password up, and she watching the show. And I'm just trying to stay woke and figure out what I'm gonna do tomorrow because we got a month to figure it all out. I done paid for a month cash, figure this out. All of a sudden, I don't know if you ever seen them TikToks where them African dudes be doing all that dancing, and then somebody do the dancing in the front of the camera, and they be dudes in the back doing different things, and then somebody come back to the front and they doing all this juking and all this. Have you ever seen this?
To the Michael Jackson songs?
Yes.
Yeah.
They live there, fam. It's 6 of them. They come through the door. They doing I'm hot as fish grease, bro. Because I have been duped. I was told that it was going to be a safe environment for me and my daughter to have a place that's sheltered to live. I didn't know these badass Africans was living here doing all this dancing and making all this noise, all this foolishness. My daughter loves it because she's ignorant. She's a kid. She thinks it's entertaining. I can't have my baby in here with these 13-year-old, everybody 13, some of them different sizes, and they doing all this dancing, and we trying to watch this Netflix. And then I woke up.
You don't need Netflix. You got your entertainment right there.
It's not the entertainment I paid for, and I didn't pay cash. So I'm hot. I want something off the bill at least.
I would love for them African kids to come to my room and wake me up with them dances in the morning.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You have a young girl you got to protect and take care of. This is a bad dream.
Girls in that group that be dancing. Your daughter wanted to join the group.
And that's what I didn't want either. We already in a bad situation. Ain't no money in that.
You don't know how much money they make.
That's true. That's true. But that was the dream, man. It was.
You don't get good dancing everywhere.
She loves that dream. She actually requested it this week. Hey, next week when you tell a dream, make sure it's this one. I was like, all right, cool. Because I had a good one too about church, but it didn't make it. So that's what it was. But cool. Did we have anything in the chat you wanted me to get on before I jump out?
One more comment that maybe you can respond to, because you pulled up the picture of the atom and it had you in the center.
That's correct.
And there's a question of God being the center there. Can you expound on the difference?
No, because you can't control God. You can control you. Stop worrying about control. This is how we got into this situation. Everybody worried about what God doing. Let God do God. You worry about what you doing, right? That's the whole moral of the story. So we're going to make sure y'all tune in next Wednesday, 9 p.m. for another episode of Coach's Decision with Crispy Reed. Until then, we want y'all to take it easy, or at least take it how you can get it. Good timing on that, bro. We're going to have to figure out how to do the chat with the